Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. It's always a good day when there are some positive Star Wars updates, and today we start with the Acolyte. Dagobah Dispatch podcast via entertainmentweekly.com have confirmed the Acolyte is not going to feature a lot of guns, but it's weird they went with this headline, because that is not the biggest reveal. In a brand new conversation with some of the stars of the upcoming show, Manny Jacinto, Daphne Keane and Charlie Barnett spoke about what we can expect, and they have a message for fans of The Phantom Menace, and more specifically the cinema-defining duel back in 1999 between Darth Maul, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Jacinto said this: "If you love that sequence, you're going to really enjoy this show, because the focus, while not on guns, is on stunts and lightsaber duels, so this is going to be a very physical show." Co-star Charlie Barnett goes further and says this: "I will say, not to shade, but we have a lot more tangible physical moves than I saw in that fight." Barnett says, "We have an awesome stunt team, doing so much without cables, without a lot of effects. It makes the fight seem so much more visceral." And Daphne Keane also admits being bonked over the head a few times during filming. She says, quote, "All of the fight training that we've gone through is so heavily influenced by samurai. Only this time, laser swords are subbing in for, actual swords." And then they reveal, on top of the lack of guns, on top of all the lightsaber stunts, there is a lot of body-to-body choreography, a dance kind of feeling to those fights. And as I mentioned the other day, pre-production cost $49 million. That is a hefty amount, surpassing most Disney Plus shows in pre-production numbers. And across social media I've seen a lot of fan frustration with this. Where were these numbers when it came to bigger shows, legacy character shows, Obi-Wan, Boba Fett? Is it another symptom of mismanagement? Is it Lucasfilm prioritizing new shows? I don't know, but it's a valid question. So before we move on to our next topic, which is the Lando show, Bespin Bulletin have revealed the release window for the Acolyte. Bespin is a very reliable source, so as I say, we know it's coming in 2024, but the question is when? This show was not affected by the strikes, they wrapped up in time, so here is what they say. "Over the course of a number of months, I've heard on various occasions that the Leslie Headland created series is aiming to release in the second quarter of 2024, which just so happens to be in the spring. It runs from April 1st to June 30th. But they do make it very clear they've not heard of a specific date or month, and the most logical is in May the 4th, May the 25th, some kind of symbolic day for this franchise. And it is worth keeping in mind that while the strikes did not directly affect production, they will affect Disney's schedule, because Andor Season 2, which was also set to release in 2024, is no doubt going to be pushed back, because they had to stop production. So we might just get the one live-action show next year, as well as the Bad Batch Season 3, and Tales of the Jedi Season 2. Bespin Bulletin then reminds us they have a good history when it comes to reporting release windows. They were the first to report the first season of Andor was releasing in August of 2022, which was then confirmed, but then pushed back to September. They were also the first to reveal that Skeleton Crew was going to release sometime in November or December of this year, and that still looks to be the case, unless, due to the strikes and their full schedule, they push it back to 2024, and this would signal 2 live-action shows next year. But the big takeaway for the Acolyte today is we're getting more lightsaber scenes, and more confirmation the show's influenced directly by episode 1. I love The Phantom Menace, and my question to you today is, what is your favourite scene from the start of George Lucas's prequel trilogy? Was it Jar Jar Binks? Was it Duel of the Fates? Was it the pod race scene? Let me know down below. And so now, my dear friends, we're going to talk about the Lando series. We hear so many nothing burgers about this show. I reported on all of the updates. Oftentimes they're often twaddle, absolute nonsense, and other times they're just saying, well, it's still in development, but we don't know. But today, we have some definitive news. This first came out of Above the Line, and our Variety have picked up on it. This is huge. So earlier yesterday, Justin Simien, the original writer on the show, confirmed he is still attached, but it was just a case of when. Lucasfilm told him when Donald Glover is free, when the casting crew is ready, then they'll do it. But then just a handful of hours later, a few hours ago, they confirmed Justin exited the show and he's no longer attached, and instead, Donald and Stephen Glover are going to write the series going forward. And this is possibly the best piece of Lando news, because they are very talented and the show Atlanta was a critical success. Above the Line said this: Lucasfilm were determined to continue development on the series, while Simien focused on Haunted Mansion. And as part of moving the show forward, Disney and Lucasfilm reached out to Donald and his brother to ask them to write the series themselves. They took on writing duties, and when the strikes are over, that will begin. It's a bit of a shame for Justin though, because he already wrote a bunch of scripts, he already had his story mapped out, his vision, and now it appears as though that might be scrapped, although I can imagine Donald and Steven taking on some of those ideas. And this has been going on for a long time, and it's something Donald has kept very quiet, but writing did begin before May, before the strikes, and now it's being put on hold like everything else. So this could be very exciting indeed. So Donald is both co-writer and he's Lando himself, and then comes the big question, when is this set? Is it going to carry on after Solo a Star Wars story? Or my personal favourite, if it's going to be set in the Mandoverse, they can draw upon some of Lando and Heir to the Empire and connect it to the Ahsoka show and Dave Filoni's film. Lando, post-Return of the Jedi, is absolutely badass in those books. I really hope they draw from that. But I'm also aware of, given what was teased in The Rise of Skywalker and Shadow of the Sith, they might just create a new canon story for him after episode 6, but Donald plays a younger version of Lando, so there is some hope it ties into The Mandalorian. There were some rumours when Lando was first announced that Billy D. Williams was going to be involved in some way, maybe an older Lando telling the story of his life, and in this way, Donald Glover was going to play that younger version. I think we're also going to hear about his daughter, and as I say, tie-ins to canon events with Lando Calrissian, but there's no telling at this stage what the show's going to entail, and I suppose L337, although, I get it, it's a bit controversial. And so now, my dear Mandalorians, community time. I regularly put out questions to our amazing Mandalorian community on the community tab, and a recent question I asked you is, what Star Wars character do you think deserves their own series? Now, given recent comments by Bob Iger about cutbacks from Disney, I don't think going forward we're going to see many random characters get their own show, but there are some very good and interesting ideas in the responses. The most upvoted characters are Hera Syndulla, Yoda, Asajj Ventress, which I do agree with by the way, especially after Dooku abandoned her, Jango Fett, which I think would be an amazing idea, the Book of Jango Fett like the Book of Boba Fett, and Darth Maul, which was a rumoured series back in 2021, but we never got that confirmed. I think Asajj Ventress would be an amazing one, but what do you think? What character would you choose for this? My choice is definitely Jango Fett. There is so much content in the expanded universe, whether it's in video game form, in books, and even in canon the intrigue of him, his master, Jas Namariel. He was a foundling, and his story in many ways resembles that of Din Djarin. And so finally, my dear friends, we have a range of very exciting LEGO sets coming up, and I want to discuss all of the ones announced at San Diego Comic-Con and why they're so exciting. So in previous videos I've already touched upon the Ahsoka sets, so we're not going to dwell on those. The T6 Jedi Shuttle, the New Republic E-Wing versus Shin Hati Starfighter, and all of these come with some amazing minifigures. The Ghost and Phantom 2, and then a 2,000-piece 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi Chewie. And then coming in a few days on August 1st, we have Rebel Base on Yavin 4. Very appropriate given Andor Season 2 is going to feature the planet and the base. And one of my favourite things about this set, which I did get to see in person yesterday, is that it includes a Rogue One minifigure, an Astromech that's not often spoken about. R2BHD, an Astromech who served the Alliance to restore the Republic. By Zero BBY, he worked with Gold Squadron and flew with John Vander, Gold Leader, who also happens to be a minifigure in this set. We also have Yavin Luke with the medal, Han with the medal, Princess Leia, General Dodonna, an absolute legend of Star Wars. We have Red Leader, Gold Leader, Chewie, 3PO, R2-D2, a Rebel Fleet Trooper and Rebel crew. We also get some Mandalorian Season 3 sets in a couple of days as well. The Spider Tank with Bo-Katan, Din Djarin and Grogu. I've also seen in stores available here in the UK, Yoda's Jedi Starfighter, an updated version of it. We also have the 332nd Ahsoka's Clone Trooper Battle Pack. Some really nice reveals. So share your thoughts on this and everything we spoke about in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video guys, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.